Welcome today to this writing workshop with an edge, because we're actually not really going to write, but we're going to negate what is written. My name is Sanne Helvers. I'm a program maker for Studium Generale, and together with my colleague Klaas and Vincent from the Library Learning Center, we have created this spring program, which is all about language and power. So how do stories shape our view on reality, on society, the stories that we tell, the words that we use, that we keep on confirming and using, how do they interfere with our notion of society, of stereotyping, of biases. We have an entire program throughout spring here in the TU Delft Library, but also in the city of Delft, so in Theater de Veste. We have a big festival coming up on March 29th, which is all about language and power as well. But we are very happy with Katarina Petrovic, art scientist, who has a major exhibition here in the library hall until the end of May 27th, if I say correct.
Correct.
And today she's going to take us along in her methods of negation. We're going to do it ourselves. We're going to use AI to do so. We're just going to experiment and have fun, and it's very informal. We will have some drinks later on and some pizza at the end. So yeah, just enjoy. And Katarina, you
Thank you.
take it away.
Thank you. Okay, well, hi everyone. Hi. I'm happy that you guys are here and that you're going to spend the next 2 hours with me thinking about how to negate text. This is something that I don't think in your, real life you would ever sit to do. It's a very abstract thing to do, but it will allow you to not only understand the text you are reading in a different way, it will also allow you to understand the world behind a text you are reading and how you see the world and how does that differ from the world behind the text. And although it sounds like a very abstract and nonsensical thing to do, I find it to be actually very urgent, especially because we are living in the time when we have a lot of computers and machines calculating the probabilities of how something should be said or what is true, what are affirmative statements, what are the negative statements. We are dealing with machine text ever more, and it will only increase. And being able to understand how meaning is created in a text and how meaning is missing in a text is becoming, I think, a tool that any critical thinker needs to have. So if you are perhaps not in your engineering studies, you won't need to deal with understanding text like that, but it's also not to say that this won't come handy. Double negation. So the way the workshop is going to go is like this. I will give you a very short introduction to my research and my view on negation and how does it play a part in artistic methods. I would also like to hear your feedback. I'm really curious. Now I know some of the backgrounds, and I would like to hear your opinion, because if you share what you understand from what negation can do and what are the power structures behind the negations used in text, then we can all benefit from that. So I would really encourage a dialogue. So there won't be a lot of slides. I hope there will be a lot of conversation. And afterwards, we're going to try to negate. We're going to try very simple, and it will become very difficult right away. So we'll see how complex we're going to end up going. So maybe before I begin, I just give you a short introduction to who I am and what is my background. Because I took the time to hear you out, but maybe you don't know. My name is Katarina Petrovic. I am originally from Serbia, but I am living in the Netherlands, where I finished my second master's degree in art science, where I attained a diploma of Master of Music from the Royal Conservatory and Royal Academy of Arts in The Hague. I studied art science, and my master thesis actually was about the origin of the world. It was on cosmogony, how our theories and our approaches to the origin of the world are tightly interlinked with language. And it also comes back to this biblical text that says, "In the beginning was the Word." There is so much meaning in that sentence. Truly, how is meaning made? And we as artists, we really deal with this a lot, especially if you're using some other tools of representation. So, me with a background in painting and art science, I have always dealt with tools for representation, only to come to the conclusion that art practices really need to move away from representation. The same way the politics needs to move away from representation. So what did I do? I ended up working with language, because it's the tool by itself. And so I'm not interested in what the language truly is, the representational power of it. I'm interested in language as a force. If we could subject language to some experiments, such as the ones we would do in mathematics or in physics, what would language do? You know, like there's these natural forces, you put an experiment, and then the thing itself tells you something. You learn from this experiment. And I do that with language. I want to see what the force of it is. And what I found is a lot of infinity. So that's where this research starts. Does anybody know what any of these two images are? Yes. No.
No? Oh.
Close.
Okay.
Same era. This one is the Black Square by Kazimir Malevich. But yeah, same era and the same K. But Kazimir Malevich, as a Russian cosmist artist, suprematist artist, was equally interested in breaking the representation in art. And what did he do? He put a black image, and he put it in a position where you would usually put an Orthodox icon in a church, in the corner, to block the corner. So he imitated a religious setup for an image, and he put a black image. For that, he was severely attacked. What does he mean? Why is he destroying art? Why is the image erased? And on the left side, we see Robert Flood, a guy who published a book in the early 17th century about the nature of the world, metaphysical, physical, and technical, where he represented what we know about the universe as a black square. And what it says here is et sic in infinitum. The origin for us, this beginning of the world, is a complete unknown. It's a black square, it's a space in which we will project what we can know, what we do know, into something which is ultimately unshapable. You can't grasp it. So that was the erasure of the image, and maybe even the denial of the image. Is anybody familiar with this work? John Cage, 4 minutes, 33 seconds, where actually John Cage is one of the most prolific modern composers of the 20th century, who developed a piece where the pianist sits in front of the piano for 4 minutes and 33 seconds doing nothing. What this piece effectively does, if I may just offer my interpretation, is it gives you the space to hear what you would never pay attention to, which is your ambient noise. I've done these presentations before many times where I would begin by just simply looking at everyone. And everybody would expect me to speak because we are set up already that I'm the one supposed to speak. You know? So if I break that expectation and I just stand in silence, I opened up a possibility for something to happen and for you to take the time to hear everything else. Also, one of my favorite works, actually, he would also belong to the art science lineage. Hans Haake, in the 60s, 70s New York scene, he was rising to prominence, and then he did a very provocative work. You'll see it here, the thread. These are all very provocative works because we as society, we just built our expectations all the time. But that's why you need art, because who dares? Yeah. So what he did here was he followed what is unseen about the painting, and that is that Georges Saussure, the posers, the women posers painting, he mapped out who was the owner of that painting throughout its beginning to today. And these are all the contracts with names and images of the people who were owning this painting. And what he effectively showed is this, the other side of the coin of the artwork. How does artwork come to prominence? Who owns it? He exposed really the art market. He exposed the, how do you say, the manipulations on the value, and he exposed a lot of people. This is why it was so problematic. And you could say that these contracts are the negative image of that work. Do you have another example that maybe brought you here, or maybe you would like to share? What could be a negative? You can think about it. I would like to hear it. I will give you some more tools to think about. Yeah, but so it's kind of like this in between the lines, but also what you're saying is that the unsaid is not necessarily negative or missing. The unsaid is also just the beliefs you have that they might not even appear to have anything to do with the phrase. So the forms that the unsaid can have. And these are the forms that I often use in my works as tools. Silence. You are simply not talking at all. Or limit of language. Some things cannot be expressed in language. They could be in the body, and you simply cannot find the terminology. Absence, meaning you're talking of what isn't there, the missing of. Negation, you're bluntly denying or negating the phrase by using simple negations like that did not happen. Or unheard, the unheard voices, the ones that are not contributing to the milieu of possibilities, because we haven't heard other perspectives and other voices. The unconscious, the unsaid could also not be available to you. And the unwritten, meaning it has not been recorded. So even if it doesn't belong to your unsaid, it simply is missing. And it also means that if it is unwritten, or if we have not formalized it in one way or the other, because we live in a society that prefers everything being rationally explained, that means that unwritten will also be uncoded in our machines. I just wanted to bring this forth as the origins of our poster. I'm joking, no. We are using the square of opposition as a design on the poster as well. But it is one of the first instances of formally mapping negation in rhetorics, and it was done by Aristotle in the 4th century. It's published 4th century BC. It's published in his work On Interpretation, where he is trying to get the rhetorics, the politicians, to give us tools to hold them to their statements, such as being able to realize if the statement is affirmative or negative. Is it contradictory or is it offering contrariety? In order to, for us, the people, to be able to hold the orators to their words. And it brings some paradoxes, and we have developed this much further. We have a philosopher also with us. We have the philosophy of negation, and it plays a large part in logic as well, because the way you negate and the different levels of negation also represent different levels of logic. Feel free to intercept at any point. But for instance, what is a contradictory is, let's say S is man and P is white. So every man is white. The contradictory to that is some man is not white. It's contradicting the very attempt of you making the affirmative statement that some men are white. The same. Yes, yes, better? Okay, spot on me. So then you have the other example that no man is white, and the same equal contradiction would be some man is white. So let me come back to the presentation. So basically, Aristotle is pointing out the impossibility for a thing to be both white and not white at the same time. And this is known as the law of contradiction. Aristotle says it is impossible to be and not to be at the same time. I would really like if there were some people from QTech right now to comment on this. He also infers another law from his observations on negation, which is the law of the excluded middle. In every case, we must either affirm or deny. And the rational thought, the very basic logic of the rational thought is that you have to either make an affirmative statement or a negative statement. It's either true or it's not true, and there's nothing in the middle. That's the law of excluded middle. This kind of reasoning will lead you to some faults in the reasoning, and I really like to push it forward. If this is really what you think how logic works, that it's either this or that, you will soon run in a paradox, and I really like to get those paradoxes out, because it tells you that simple logic, rational logic, that appears to be running our language is not what it appears to be. Our language is much more complex, and machines cannot grasp that complexity. I really like this quote, so please indulge me, I read it. I will only bug you for another 10-15 minutes, and then we're gonna play. All human systems of communication contain a representation of negation. No animal communication system includes negative utterances, and consequently, none possess a means for assigning truth value, for lying, for irony, or for coping with false or contradictory statements. The distinction between the largely digital nature of linguistic representation, true, false, 0 or 1, and the purely analog mechanisms of animal communication can be argued to result directly from the essential use humans make of negation and opposition. If we are, by definition, animals that talk, we are ipso facto the animals that deny. For, as Spinoza and Hegel argue, any linguistic determination directly or indirectly involves a negation. So all the time talk about what is said, but we barely spend any time talking about what is unsaid. This is how this workshop comes to be. So, little intro to what we're going to be doing and what I have been doing in the previous works. So, in the End of Species, the work where I'm negating the origin of species by Darwin, you can find two different AI models, and one model which is using, I think at that time this was ChatGPT 3, and in its model it has 7 modes of negation, and I added another one. Standard or simple negation. That is the most basic form of negation when you're using words that directly negate the statement, such as the cat is walking, the cat is not walking, adding not, no, and so forth. Double negation, when you negate both the words or particles to reinforce the first negation. I'll give you some examples. I thought I had it and then I didn't. Negative prefix, so certain prefix can be added to words to form their opposites. For instance, unhappy or non-fictional. Negative adverbs. Some adverbs carry a negative meaning and are used to negate a statement. So those are examples like never, nowhere, no longer, not anymore. Indirect or implicit negation. Instead of using explicit negative words, indirect negation relies on context, tone, and implication to convey a negated meaning. So that's interesting. Means it's not. Rhetorical negation. This is when you are simply converting the statement into a question. Litotides, which are expressing using a positive statement by using double negatives or understatement, saying it's not bad, but you're basically saying it's good. Comparative negation, when you take two concepts, one includes the quality and the other one excludes that quality. And the collaborative negation that I added is when a machine is producing all the possibilities for the negation, but the human is the one choosing. So it's a collaboration between man and machine, or woman and machine. But I also believe that we should not call AI AI. We should call it CI.
I don't know.
I have also some math examples for this. Okay. Should I jump right into it? Yeah. So you're rightly pointing out that, language led to logic, but there are also some theories that that argue that because of language we developed calculus or arithmetic and mathematics, not the other way around. So in a way, language and its grammar and its forces allowed us to be able to abstract and create other symbolic systems for representing the world. So mathematics is definitely a part of this, but language also is an emergent property. And this is there is one really nice quote I like, which is by a natural philosopher, William Morton Wheeler, who said, the concept of emergence, ordinary causality was invoked by chemists to cover the observation that sulfur atoms plus iron atoms equal iron sulfide molecules. According to fellow philosopher Lloyd Morgan, the concept of emergence signaled a different variety of causation where 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. It does not even surprise with 5. In the logic of emergence, 2 plus 2 equals apples. So to simplify, I would ask you to reflect and to try to implement one of the 3 ways to negate a text today. The first one is the very simple one, the surface level negation, using not, never, no, on all the negative verbs, or negating the statement. You can also deny it. So if the statement is I am here, the denial is you are not here, or I am not here. The second one is the meaning level negation, semantics. The star means that's where computers start to fail. Not to fail, they will attempt to write something, but it will most likely be nonsense. So it's a semantical category where we're negating the predicate. So we're going to look for a property or a relation implied in those statements. So what is unsaid? It is not visible in its form, and we will try to negate it by making indirect, implicit statements. And the third one is a discursive or meta-level negation, often used in politics, legal speech, and alike. But that's the suppression of meaning. I didn't say that that would happen. I didn't say that that wouldn't happen. So where are we exactly? Seemingly neutral phrasing. We are not responsible for the in legal talk. Then deeply contextual, weaving ideology and implicit power structures. So this, I think, it will depend on the choice you will make for the text. So I can invite you now to take a look at the QR codes. Please scan them. They will lead you to a Google Drive folder where you can find some text. I just have a few other things to mention before we jump in. We will take the time for you guys to go through the text, see what you would like. This will be our second exercise. So, last part. In terms of AI, for guys here from ID and computer science, I guess you are also interested in that more. In computational linguistics, it is very difficult to detect negation. For us, we can detect the negation because we are provided with much more context around where does the text come from. So you take into consideration at what point something was said, with what tone, with what look, who was doing you take so much, and that goes from the embodiment of language we have. You will also maybe intuitively feel that somebody is lying. Well, it sounds super true. This cannot be detected by a machine. It's super difficult. So every time the negation doesn't have a form, you have this implied meanings, it won't be picked up. This is why this work was so difficult, actually. And sentiment, that's the challenge. So the machine will not accurately, so if you say it's not bad, the machine will most likely think you're talking how bad it is. Just not that bad. And then we have the bias in AI. Whose stories and what data is fed to a model that is generating these negations? An example. I didn't say that the policy was a failure. This, I thought it was really nice. If you forget this, I just pointed out some areas where it could be improved, whatever. I didn't say that the policy was a failure. You know what this does, actually? It is saying that it is not that, but the human psychology and neuroscience, you already created an image in your mind that it failed. And this person comes and says, but it didn't fail. But you're already sold. You already imagined that failed. So this is why the politicians use it a lot, right? The most recent speech by the American president, whose name we will not say. I'm joking. We could. Look at just how many negations in this one paragraph. There is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy, meaning they're really unhappy. To make them stand or smile or applause, we are imagining how people are applauding and smiling. We're thinking about the diseases now, diseases for entire nations now. People here will not clap, will not stand, certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. And it shouldn't be this way. So it is very potent. He literally did not say anything affirmative. There is no affirmative statement here. There is no clear statement that says, we are not appreciated. That's a very, or we. So ultimately, all language is politics. All language is politics. I cannot stress this enough. And this is the last part where I just wanted to bring forth that the neuroscience mapped what happens in the brain when we are using negative statements. We also have research that kids will not remember negative statements. So in our evolution, our brains developed so to disregard negative statements because they don't carry information firsthand. So understanding negation and learning how to lie to your parents only happens a little later. So what we also see, of course, negation remains an unexplained neural black box, but we also know that when somebody asks you to negate, this is what you're going to experience in a minute, is that you can't imagine it. Can I ask you to imagine a no boat? You had a boat in your mind, right? It's impossible. We cannot imagine negative statements. And what is interesting, your mind will still have the creative part. You will still be in the creative part, your imaginative agents in your mind will stop. You cannot imagine, but your body will be still able to instinctively respond to a negative statement, even though you maybe didn't truly get it. So another tool for politics and inciting action.